Know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305.
Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, August 20th, and I am Senator Angela Williams Graves, Chair of the Manufacturing Commission. We are waiting on a few members just to have a quorum, and then we will gavel in, take the roll, and get started with our business. So if you are watching online, just bear with us, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Bye.
This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@ Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia.
And just like that, we're back. So we're going to call this meeting to order. Again, it is Wednesday, August 20th, and I'm Senator Angela Williams Graves, Chair of the Manufacturing Commission. We are here. Can we please get a roll call?
Senator Williams Graves,
Here.
Senator Stanley, Senator Bagby, Delegate Feggins,
He is online.
virtual, Delegate Hinson,
He's on his way.
Delegate Martinez,
Here.
Delegate Bloxham, Delegate Freitas, Brett Vassy, Dr. DeWitt Hale, Mike Watson, Amy White, Kimberly Humphrey, Secretary Secura. You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you so much. Again, welcome to everyone. Our vice chair is en route. But we're going to keep moving. I want to just take an opportunity. This is our first meeting of the year for 2025, and just welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for your time, and thank you for making this meeting a priority. I really do appreciate it. We do good work here, and we do important work here, and so it's important for all of us to show up and to be present and counted. We are going to move into, and before we move, we do have a congratulations to Mike Watson. He retired. I want to live long enough and do something long enough to be able to retire from something. So I appreciate the fact that you have retired. So congratulations on that. 36 years. Wow. Wow, cool beans, cool beans. All right, so we're going to move into the adoption of the virtual meeting policy, and I am told that it's a nip and tuck of what we have already, what our previous virtual meeting policy is. And so, Nikhil, I got it right, Nikhil, please explain what those nips and tucks are.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are 3 changes made to the policy from the prior policy. These are just to update the policy to match the statutes. It requires the commission to adopt an e-meeting policy at least once annually, and that is on the first page of the policy. On the second page of the policy for all virtual meetings, it adds to number 3, when audiovisual technology is available, a member of a public body shall, for purposes of a quorum, be considered absent from any portion of the meeting during which visual communication with the member is voluntarily disconnected or otherwise fails, or during which audio communication involuntarily fails. Also on number 9, it changes from 25% of meetings to 50% of meetings for which the public body can have an all virtual meeting. And those are the 3 changes.
We are slowly moving into the technological age with these commission meetings. So someday we'll get there. All right, so do we have to vote on those to accept them? Is that voice vote?
Move to accept.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Call the roll for the vote.
Senator Williams Graves,
Aye.
Senator Stanley, Senator Bagby, Delegate Feggins, Delegate Hinson, Delegate Martinez, Delegate Bloxham,
Yes.
Delegate Freitas, Brett Vassy, Dr. Hale, Mike Watson, Kimberly Humphrey, Amy White, Secretary Segura. Ayes 7, no 0.
Outstanding, thank you so much. The next thing on our agenda is the report from the 2025 legislation. What lived, what died, what stayed alive.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name's Marvi Ali. I'm with Legislative Services. I think we'll start, you'll see a handout before you with legislative updates. It has 3 parts to the document. The first are drafts that were considered by this commission in 2024. I think Nikhil will be happy to explain some of those before we go into what was introduced and failed and what was introduced and passed this past session.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to go over briefly over 5 drafts that were considered by the commission. The first draft was recommended by the commission on November 4th. It related to the Public Procurement Act and forced and child labor prohibition. The draft created a definition of forced labor and prohibited public bodies from entering into a contract with a business providing a product on the U.S. Department of Labor's list of products produced by forced or indentured child labor without certification provided to the Commonwealth. A version of this was introduced as SB 913, which passed.
I am having a lot of trouble hearing what's being said.
Okay, can we make sure your mic is on, is working? Because you were kind of going in and out a little
Yeah.
bit, yeah.
It's the adjust level. Okay. Madam Chair, is this better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So just to go over that one, the commission recommended a draft on November 4th related to the Public Procurement Act and forced and child labor prohibition. 4 drafts were also considered by the commission on December 16th. LD 3808 directed the Safety and Health Codes Board within DALI to promote regulations to establish a cannabis impairment standard and testing protocol for manufacturing and utility work sites. And this bill was introduced as HB 2510. LD 3809 expanded renewable energy portfolio standard eligibility to include hydrogen, nuclear, biogas, and any other carbon-reducing technologies placed into service in the Commonwealth and approved by the SCC. LD 3810 regarding public school teachers, licensure requirements, subject matter expert teaching certificate. The draft created a subject matter expert teaching certificate and established its criteria and accompanying requirements. LD 3811 established a Virginia Recycling Development Center. It outlined its duties and created an advisory committee with a recycling market development fund to support it as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving to part 2 of the document, we'll look at a few bills that were introduced that did not ultimately get passed during this session. The first of those relating to manufacturing is SB 302 from Senator DeSteph. It's the Virginia First Manufacturing Incentive Program. This aimed to direct this commission, the Manufacturing Development Commission, to develop a budget and business plan to establish a Virginia First Manufacturing Incentive Program. The bill sought to identify existing manufacturers in the Commonwealth that are potential candidates for reshoring, nearshoring, or inshoring manufacturing jobs and capital investments. The bill also directed that the program focus on expanding and recruiting manufacturing operations that produce products identified as critical infrastructure, and provide discretionary incentive funding for trade adjustment assistance. This bill, SB 302, was ultimately left in appropriations. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, quick question. So I don't remember I don't remember us discussing this bill in the commission, did we?
Madam Chair, the legislative updates include both bills that were discussed by the commission in the past and any bills that were considered this past session that affect manufacturing. So I went through and did kind of a deeper dive to see if anything would be relevant to this commission, because I think only 1 or 2 of the drafts that Nikhil went over actually have bills that were associated with them. So once we get to, I think, the ones that did pass, we're seeing a little more overlap between what the commission recommended.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Of course. So, Madam Chair, the next bill that ultimately did not pass but was introduced by Senator Deeds, again, it was not considered by this commission, but it relates to different manufacturing needs in the Commonwealth. And I just wanted to point out that's SB 1190 that created the Virginia Energy Facility Review Board and directed local ordinances to make comprehensive plans related to siting critical interconnection projects. So that relates to manufacturing in the energy sector. And it required each regional area of the Commonwealth to create an energy plan as well. And this ultimately did not pass the Senate. The third bill I'd like to bring up under this category is HB 1616 from Delegate Fagans. This directed the Director of the Department of Energy to identify and develop training resources to advance workforce development in the offshore wind industry in the Commonwealth. This bill did pass both chambers and was ultimately vetoed by the governor. There's one more in this section, actually, is HB 2510. This is reminiscent of something that was considered by the Manufacturing Development Commission in 2024. HB 2510 was introduced by Delegate Taylor to direct the Safety and Health Codes Board to promulgate regulations to establish a THC impairment standard and testing protocol to be used on manufacturing work sites in the Commonwealth. And to start a rulemaking by October of this year, and this bill was left in Labor and Commerce. And now we'll turn to Section 3 of the legislative updates. You'll see 3 bills that I identified that did pass and have since been enacted into law.
One more quick thing before you move on to Section 3. If there are any of these bills that failed, that anyone is interested in actually having more discussion about, or maybe having the patron, reaching out to the patron, seeing if they're looking to carry them again, I'd like to kind of know that ahead of time, and then we can have a more substantial discussion about it to perhaps to consider whether or not it's a bill we want to endorse or not, just to kind of see where the patron is going, what their thoughts are, what they see, as opposed to maybe what we see, and that way we could get a little bit more input on it. But if there's anything that you all are interested in getting more information on, then just let us know, and we can communicate with the patron to say, hey, Do you intend to bring this back next year? And if so, then we can actually invite them to one of our commission meetings to kind of present and talk to us and let us know what their thoughts are. Yes, sir.
I was just saying, I think it's important to revisit this. It's a safety factor for employees. It's an important factor in clarifying businesses and manufacturers should deal with, which is becoming, obviously more prevalent throughout the nation. And I think we should take the lead and at least evaluate what other states are doing and see what works and bring this back up if the patrons want to carry it.
Okay, I agree with you and I was thinking that as you were saying it, like, we're not the first state to do this, so why reinvent the wheel? So let's look at what other states have done in terms of THC and manufacturing and all of that. That's the one you're referencing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so to see what other states have done and that way, and what's worked. If they've had any amendments or what have you to their policies, and then it will help us to craft better legislation that's actually user-friendly.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Yes.
I was just going to say that our manufacturers are looking for places to reshore. So I think this first one is pretty critical.
Okay,
I would definitely think that we should revisit that.
okay. All right, let's proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and of course, Legislative Services is here to support you and help answer any questions that you might have about bill drafts that the Commission would like to consider. Moving to Part 3 of the legislative updates, we'll take a look at some bills that have been enacted. SB 913 came from Senator Stanley, and it is part of the Virginia Public Procurement Act. It provides a definition of forced or indentured child labor, and it provides that a public body that enters into a public contract for goods or services that exceeds $10,000 shall include in the contract provisions that prohibit the use of forced or indentured child labor in the performance of the contract. And the provisions also must require that the contractor include this prohibition in every subcontract that exceeds $10,000 as well. My understanding is that this bill was a recommendation of the Manufacturing Development Commission based on some of the bill drafts that were discussed last interim. The next bill on this list is HB 2024 from Delegate Siebold, which is identical to SB 1165 from Senator Salim. This is also related to the Virginia Public Procurement Act. This prohibits state and local agencies from including a provision in any RFP or procurement agreement, contract, ordinance, policy, permit, or any requirements that they issue. It prohibits any such ordinance or proposal from directing the exclusion of any materials contained in or products associated with solar PV equipment and facilities that are manufactured in the United States. The third bill on this list is HB 2179, Delegate Clark, identical to SB 1213 from Senator Aird. This is one that I also identified as being relevant to the needs of the manufacturing industry. So this amends the Virginia Investment Performance Grants Program, and it authorizes the grants to be awarded with slightly more flexible restrictions if the recipient is located in a locality with an unemployment rate and poverty rate that exceeds the state average. So this bill would authorize the payment of such grants if the average wage paid by the eligible manufacturer or research and development service is no less than 85% of the prevailing average wage, and grants can be paid for projects in such localities that pay less than 85% that pay less than 85% of the prevailing wage. If there's a written finding by the governor that the economic circumstances in the area are sufficiently distressed. But the other parts of the Virginia Investment Performance Grant Program, like the amount of minimum private investment and the number of new jobs required to be created, those are still a condition of eligibility. So that concludes the list of bills that I considered to be legislative updates from 2025. Happy to take any questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Yes.
Are there, on the question of the 85% prevailing wage, are there designated areas that would, that apply to, that we already are aware of, or would this be something we'd have to work on?
I can get back to you on what the designated areas for the Virginia Performance Grant Incentive Program before this bill was. And now it's adding an area that has an unemployment rate or a poverty rate that exceeds the national average as a designated area.
Well, you know, I'm thinking of Northern Virginia, and the prevailing wage there may be a lot higher than the prevailing wage anywhere else. And with the locality that may have a wage 85% of the prevailing wage, it'd still be higher than another locality in the South, say, for example. So I'm just kind of curious how that would apply across those different areas, and what is the state's requirement, 85% of the state requirement, or is it based on localities? That makes sense.
Well, when they are giving grants for these projects, and the locality pays less than 85% of the prevailing average wage, then this makes them more eligible for the grant. And I might have just reiterated what you already know.
Is it a combination? Because it sounds like it's a combination of things, not just the 85%, but also the poverty level and what was the other, the unemployment rate. So it sounds like it's a combination of things, not just one specific thing.
I think that would be accurate, Madam Chair. There's a number of factors that are considered when awarding these grants, and it is also true that the prevailing wage rate is different for different localities in the state.
Okay. Good. Yeah, kind of. Clear as mud.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Wait a minute. Where is my agenda here? All right. Now we will have our presentation on manufacturing from workforce development perspective. Thank you so much for being here, Commissioner Overlay.
Thank you so much. Oh, just want to make sure.
Are we on?
And do I? Perfect. Madam Chair and members of the Commission, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to provide an update to you today, not only on Virginia Works, the Commonwealth's Workforce Development Agency, but also on a little bit of the state of play around the manufacturing workforce. I hope to leave you with some ideas around future opportunities that hopefully resonate for you around what the manufacturing workforce needs, and to receive some feedback from you, hopefully, on programs that would be supportive to the manufacturing community that Virginia Works can take part in. I will note also, as we move forward through these slides, that this commission was integral in the creation of this agency 2 years ago. Virginia Works is now 1 year old, just past its first year anniversary. So I am going to start with, just before we get into some specifics on manufacturing and the manufacturing workforce, with just a few slides about what Virginia Works is. Because we are a new state agency, I think it's a good opportunity to make sure that you know what we do. So at the core, I think it's worth noting first, we connect people to careers and employers to skilled talent. We are a collection of about 330 state employees who, for the most part, work in Virginia Career Works centers spread across the Commonwealth, supporting individuals with resume review, career coaching, access to training, and supportive services, and employers with access to their talent needs. So for any employer or individual who goes to a Virginia Career Work Center, they can get access to really the full spectrum of needs along their career journey. I'm going to talk in a little bit about some of the work-based learning programs that Virginia Works supports, primarily, first and foremost, registered apprenticeship. But beyond that, we are really the state agency that supports the local workforce development ecosystem, many of which are federally funded programs that come through WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. But there are a number of programs that are both state and federally funded that our agency helps to orchestrate and convene. To summarize, rather than showing you an org chart, I'm going to talk about 4 things that we do. Really, at the core, we provide strategic direction for statewide workforce development programs. One of our code-mandated roles is to set performance metrics for workforce programs across the Commonwealth. I'm going to share with you at the end of this presentation a link to a resource that might be helpful, which is our Commonwealth-wide workforce program catalog. We've gone through over the course of the past year an effort to really catalog and engage all the programs that are both state and federally funded that operate at the state level and engage them to provide a more coordinated suite of workforce services to every individual Virginian. And so that has been at one level, a metrics and outcomes measurement effort to get some common data across all the programs, but it's also an effort to just really better coordinate efforts that are happening across many, many state agencies and across the state and local level in Virginia. We also engage directly with businesses, employee organizations, and organized labor to gather feedback and improve service delivery statewide. We support the career coaching and skills assessment and training and job placement services that are provided at local American Job Centers. Those, as I mentioned earlier, are the Virginia Career Work Centers. And then we also have a number of our staff who are directly delivering workforce services in every community. Registered apprenticeship, layoff aversion services for businesses, reemployment services for those who are receiving unemployment. We do in-person and virtual job fairs, specific programs for veterans, for migrant and seasonal farm workers, and more. This is a pretty good graphic that illustrates how it all comes together. So as I mentioned, we are really focusing, and part of the effort around standing up this agency is to focus a little more on a holistic suite of services, vice many individual programs. Our services serve 2 primary clients, the employer and the individual. And in person, they come together in the American Job Center or the Virginia Career Work Center. And we help employers understand the labor market. With our economic information and analytics team, you'll see some of the data that they provided in a few slides forward as we talk about the manufacturing workforce. We provide recruitment and hiring assistance, workforce upskilling, support for those experiencing layoffs, Virginians who are seeking work-based learning opportunities, veterans, unemployed Virginians, as I mentioned, and more. Also, for your awareness, if you're not aware, so these American Job Centers or Virginia Career Work Centers are spread out across the Commonwealth in what are called 14 local workforce development areas. And so each of these have a local workforce development board, which we coordinate with at the local level. So if you're not aware of your board and your local workforce area, I'm happy to make sure that that connection is strong, just to make sure that you see this map of where everything's located, and so that you know that we're a state agency that works in partnership at the local level. I also want to share with you one of our big efforts over the course of the past year has been to rethink the way that we do and lead employer engagement. And I think for you all as part of this commission, this is probably particularly of interest to you. We are really trying to meet employers where they are on their talent lifecycle journey and with their talent development needs. And employers have a talent life cycle. They have to develop talent, they have to hire talent, they have to retain that talent. And we want to knit our services together in a way that meets them where they are. And so sometimes these are a lot of the things we hear the most from them. Finding talent that are with skills that are tailored to the needs of the business, incorporating the types of culture building and mentorship that will keep employees growing and retained over time. How and where to go to access a pipeline of talent that is pre-screened, ready with the skills you need and motivated to work. Attracting diverse talent, making sure that the hiring pipeline is strong. And then from a retention standpoint, reducing short-term turnover, building long-term career pathways, making those career pathways clear, and improving the way in which you think about knowledge transfer and knowledge management over time. And so again, just to say, you know, there's a suite of services that are offered to employers. The focus of how we're trying to talk the talk when we engage with employers is by recognizing these types of challenges that they face and making sure that our programs serve those needs and that we're serving as the connection point between individuals and employers in a way that supports these challenges. and that's at the broader level. I will talk for a few minutes about the workforce needs of the manufacturing industry and some of the data that we have, and then I am going to talk a little bit about one specific program of interest, which is registered apprenticeship, as it is highly prevalent in the manufacturing industry and I think has a lot of opportunity to grow. So first, a few fast facts. So in July 2025, there were 239,500 manufacturing industry jobs. Again, this is at the largest level of the manufacturing industry. Obviously, there are many types of manufacturing incorporated in there. Almost 5,000 Virginia manufacturers in operation. Manufacturing contributed $55 billion to the Commonwealth's GDP in the first quarter of 2025. And the average annual pay at Virginia private sector manufacturers was nearly $75,000 in 2024. So if you weren't aware, I'm sure you are, but a couple of fast facts from our economic information and analytics team that supports much of the labor market information for the Commonwealth in partnership with the BLS at the national level. I think these are some helpful points to consider on the manufacturing industry writ large. I also want to talk a little bit about high demand occupations specific to manufacturing. So the workforce system is quite focused across all of our programs on delivering individuals who are ready to work in high demand occupations and ensuring that training and skill development is aligned with those high demand occupations. And so I wanted to pull from you from our high demand occupations list the top 10 manufacturing jobs by the 2024 workforce. So these are the top 10. Again, these occupation titles may or may not sound like exactly, if you represent the manufacturing industry, may or may not sound exactly like what you hire for, because these are the actual codes from the BLS and labor standpoint of exactly what the occupations are. But we have assemblers and fabricators, first-line supervisors of production and operating workers, welders, cutters, solderers, and brazers, inspectors, testers, sorters, samplers, and weighers, machine operators and tenders, bakers, machinists, production workers, all other, so a broad category for all other production workers, electrical, electronic, and electromechanical assemblers, and coating, painting, and spraying machine setters, operators, and tenders. So there's a lot of technical skills incorporated in each of these. However, I think of note, there are a lot of different applications across all different types of manufacturing for these occupations, as those of you who are deep in the manufacturing industry are well aware. Question? I do not know, but I do have my chief data officer here who could maybe answer that question, not to put one on the spot.
If I might add, Madam Chair, there are manufacturing, I know of one pie company that actually has a manufacturing plant that they go out and they make these pies and they distribute them locally.
There you go. All right. It's a great question. Okay. I also want to share with you a quick slide on manufacturing wage trends. So of note, manufacturing wages have increased in Virginia from 2014 to 2024 by 32%. Largely by our estimations, Virginia manufacturing wages are quite competitive, especially when referencing earlier the average annual wage across the manufacturing industry, with that pay continuing to increase really year over year. And I want to talk a little bit too, I'm going to show you some data on registered apprenticeship. So I said I would talk a little bit about both the needs of the industry and the current state of manufacturing from a workforce standpoint. But I want to talk to you also a little bit about registered apprenticeship as one particular area of interest as a work-based learning approach that is particularly suited to manufacturing as an industry and where we see a lot of interest from manufacturing organizations in pursuing registered apprenticeship pathways. If you aren't aware, registered apprenticeship is a leading work-based learning model and has been one of the most robust models of work-based learning, both nationally, internationally, and in Virginia for many decades. There's a couple things on this slide that I think speak to the nuts and bolts at a high level of how it works. It is very much industry-driven, and so our team works with employers to build out what's called a works process, the actual skills that the occupation needs to know. It is an earn while you learn program, so it combines paid on-the-job training with classroom instruction. It results in, after the number of hours and that works process has been completed, it results in a credential. So one of the goals and requirements of registered apprenticeship is that it results in a nationally recognized certification, appropriate for whatever that industry may be or that occupation may be. It provides career advancement while you're in the program, so apprentices receive progressive wage increases as their skills grow, and that's baked into the program that we work with employers on. And it provides real and tangible employer and individual benefits. So there's been some national research done that speaks to the benefits to employers around retention, around culture, around the ability to build a reliable talent pipeline. When you spend 1 to 2 years as an apprentice in an organization, you're more likely to stay. You get embedded into the culture. And actually, even that it improves productivity by bringing in new talent in an apprentice-type model with mentors around as the apprentices learn the on-the-job processes. And it also provides individual benefits. Obviously, it is an earn-while-you-learn model, and so that is first and foremost, but it also provides hands-on experience and creates a clear career pathway, so you know when you move in what roles you can move up to, and you're getting those progressive wage increases as you're part of the program.
I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
On the wages, so I think one of the perceptions may be that apprenticeships are like internships, and internships don't necessarily pay, it's.
Yes, I've been an unpaid intern myself. Yes.
Okay, so so my question is, when we're talking about paid internships, are we really talking about a salary or hourly wage that someone who has themselves or a family to support can actually do that? Or do they have to wait until they complete the apprenticeship to get the full benefit of salary and wage?
So wages vary based on the industry, but for the most part, it is a requirement of registered apprenticeship that they are getting paid at a wage throughout the course of the entire program. So there is no portion of the time where they are just in school and not working. The difference, I think a helpful distinction, so internships and apprenticeships are both what we would call forms of work-based learning. They're obviously on-the-job learning. However, internships are a lot more flexible from the standpoint of employer design, and so they can be unpaid or paid. The VTOP program, if you're familiar with it, is a state-funded effort to support expansion of paid internships to students through SHEV and VEDP and Virginia Works. And so there's certainly an effort around helping employers design paid internship programs, but that is separate and distinct from the registered apprenticeship program, which has, I would say, quite a bit more structure and requirements around it, and those requirements are driven at the federal level by the Department of Labor. So everything that we do as the state apprenticeship agency is meant to ensure that every registered apprenticeship program is in alignment with those requirements, which includes the works process, the amount of time you spend on the job, the pay, the progressive wage growth over time in the program, the related technical instruction or classroom learning components, et cetera.
And I'm going to follow that up with, I guess maybe the heart of the question is, are the wages and salaries paid in general terms to apprenticeships enough to incent someone from, say, a fast food job or some other job that may not have a career? I mean, I get all the other career tangibles, right? But tangible things don't necessarily pay the bills for folks. So in general terms, are they attractive enough to incent someone to move into a new sector that you're saying, yeah, okay.
Yes, I would say definitely yes. So wages do vary, and I can get you some follow-up wage data if you're interested in taking a look at it. But generally, on the whole, I would say demand for those who are interested in apprenticeship programs outweighs the number of employers who are offering the programs. Much of our challenge, maybe not our challenge, our opportunity, is to encourage employers to take part. And we recognize, too, I think there's an employer burden to some degree, right, on building out a program like this as part of what they do in talent development. And so that's part of what our role is and should be, to help make that to help lessen that burden and make it easier. But there is a mentor, process. Obviously, there are keys to success for employers, as we say, and we know that starting a new program like this, requires some effort, right? So we're mindful of that, but the demand for apprenticeships is very strong across the Commonwealth, and actually, I'm going to talk in a minute about a couple approaches we're trying to use to grow the number of programs available. So speaking of, actually, you teed up my next question, Madam Chair, or my next topic. So a couple fast facts on apprenticeship. You may have read this slide already. So over the past 5 years, apprenticeship participation in Virginia has risen quite significantly to about 13,400 or 13,000 and change in the last quarter of 2025. Wage gains among completers are probably one of the factors that we think leads to the increased attraction to the program. We also just completed, and I'm happy to share with this commission, a return on investment study for registered apprenticeship. Registered apprenticeship is one of the few programs in Virginia Works that is state funded. We also receive some expansion funding at the federal level, but it is one of the few programs that is not primarily federally funded that sit with this agency. And so we did a return on investment study to share and take a little bit of a look at the return on investment of every state dollar invested in registered apprenticeship. And the top line that we found, before I get there, I'll mention this. For every dollar that was spent on registered apprenticeship, the Commonwealth gets an additional $3 in tax revenue and economic output, for a net of $4 over the course of that investment. And so the return on investment at the highest level is quite significant for registered apprenticeship. Higher even than perhaps we thought. So for manufacturing in particular, here's maybe the kicker of my slide. So although the number of registered apprenticeships overall have increased, registered apprenticeship in manufacturing has remained about steady, which presents an opportunity that we're very interested in growing. There are a number of occupations in manufacturing. In fact, many of the ones that were listed on the high demand occupations list a few slides earlier that are very good fits for manufacturing and that there are established programs in already. And so the question is how we work with employers to help them establish new programs. I will also mention, so here's a quick summary of the most popular apprenticeship programs in manufacturing: machinists, welders, ship fitters. I know you're going to be in Norfolk soon. The shipyard has an apprenticeship school. There is quite a bit of activity in the shipbuilding industry in general that our partners at the Hampton Roads Workforce Council have been driving. It's specific to ship fitters and some of these other occupations, but there are many more. This is a small list of a few of those that have the most active apprentices across the Commonwealth. And if you're interested also, we do have a dashboard that shows active apprenticeships across the Commonwealth at the current moment, which is updated on a month-over-month basis, so we can share that with you if you'd like to take a look as well. So I'll mention we are very much interested in incentivizing employers to start and grow new apprenticeship programs. I want to highlight for you, earlier this year, we launched the Hired Apprenticeship Fund, which was funded 100% by a state apprenticeship expansion grant that we were given by the U.S. Department of Labor. It's an employer-focused incentive program. It had about right around $283,000 as an initial round of funding. We hope, because we just won a second, smaller expansion grant, that we can run another round of this fund. But I think the note perhaps for you is the incentive to employers is relatively small, and that is based on the feedback that we have seen not only from employers, but we've seen in other states that have done this successfully. The per apprentice incentive does not need to be too large to incent particularly small and medium-sized businesses to potentially start an apprenticeship program and bring on even 1 or 2 new apprentices, which is really the starting point for longer-term growth. And so we have been running this program since early. We had gone through the selection process for the original set of employers. As of note, one of them is advanced manufacturing. Those industries were set by our grant that we applied for. But I want to make sure that you all are aware of efforts like this that touch manufacturing, and that we hope to do more of to incentivize employer engagement in apprenticeship as a talent solution.
We have a question. Delegate Blackson.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the question might be answered on the next one. I just want to follow the dollars from the appropriations staff to the company. I'm assuming it's a subsidy of this program, or you're incentivizing them or paying part of the pay. I was just trying to figure out how that all worked.
We're paying for supplies, equipment, supportive services. It can be used for transportation, childcare, et cetera. The 283,000 of funding came through the SAFE grant at the federal level, and so the 6,000 incentive the 3,000 per apprentice can be used for a variety of different things. But it was federal funding. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. I was just curious about the investment at the state level, but I mean, it's
Yes.
the same. The money flow, it looks like would be about the same. Am I correct, the way that flows through?
So that's a great question, Delegate. So the state supports registered apprenticeship in the Commonwealth with about $2.5 million annually that comes to Virginia Works. That is not as much focused on employer incentives. It actually goes to support the program administration. So we have a team of registered apprenticeship consultants who do the program design. They're out with every single employer following this process of doing design, the approval of the program at the federal level, the implementation and measurement and ongoing management of the program, and then expansion over time. If that answered your question, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I was just kind of curious. So the money that we're giving is just for support. We're not putting any money into the actual apprenticeship programs yet. We're using the federal money to do that. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir. All right. So the process, if you're interested in seeing, and of course this is a little bit of a simplified view, but this is the process that our apprenticeship consultants follow when they're working with a net new employer to design, approve, implement, and support a program on an ongoing basis. Some of our programs have existed in the Commonwealth for decades. I think going back we just had a 50-year registered apprenticeship sponsor, and we've had some involved in the program for even longer than that. Our goal is always maintenance of the existing program and expansion of the program to include new apprentices. And so in large part, across the Commonwealth, those consultants are relationship managers, helping to support employers through that process with talent development.
So I have a question. I think it piggybacks off of Delegate Bloxham's question in that, to kind of simplify it, our dollars from the state go to support. Federal dollars are able to go to the actual employer for the program. Is that?
Yes. So the for the last few years, the federal government, the Federal Department of Labor, has put out a set of what they're calling expansion grants that have been focused on basically incenting new growth, right, of registered apprenticeship. And so there's been the allowance in those grants to use a good portion of that funding to direct out to employers, so employers have that money for reimbursable expenses to grow new programs. Our program funding has essentially remained the same for many years. This program came over to Virginia Works from Doley and has basically maintained the program as it has been.
So are you perhaps something in the next budget might be kind of on the same level as what the federal funding does in terms of working with the employers more to help?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. I was just kind of curious with the money flow, because I see it every year come through. And if you're getting a 4-to-1 investment or return on your investment, it's a good area to maybe beef up a little bit. So I was kind of curious as to the money flow, how that worked.
All right, thank you.
I'm happy to provide the commission that return on investment report as a follow-up if it would be helpful. All right, so finishing up with just a couple additional locations for more resources if you're interested. Obviously, there are a few items, Madam Chair, that I will send this group. But in addition, I want to draw your attention to a couple of our new sites and resources that we've been putting a lot of effort into as a new agency over the course of the past year. One of those is virginiaworks.gov. There are a set of resources there for both job seekers and employers, including our apprenticeship dashboard and apprenticeship resources. That website is really focused on the two primary clients of our job seekers and our employers. It allows you to search jobs, access career tools and labor market information, identify where your closest Virginia Career Work Center is, get support if you are a member of a special population where we have dedicated resources. As an employer, you can post a job on that site as well. You can access some of the incentive programs that were not mentioned today. The Work Opportunity Tax Credit is one of those which this agency administers, as well as registered apprenticeship and others. And also get access to job fairs and hiring events. We've really been trying to beef up our online digital interactions and presence with a number of virtual job fairs that have reached over 20,000 Virginians in the past 6 months, 8 months, I should say. And so just in general, we are really trying to lead from the front in terms of digital accessibility and make some of these resources more available and make both individuals and employers more aware of them. And then I do have QR codes directing you to two specific resources, and again, we'll share this out with you, but two specific resources that I thought you might be interested in that are available on the website. One is the Commonwealth-wide catalog of workforce programs I mentioned earlier, and the second is actually a sector partnerships roadmap that we built last summer, modeled off of the Blue Ridge Partnership for Health Sciences Careers in the Roanoke area. I thought you might find this of interest because I think that there's a lot of work in manufacturing already driving towards this model of sector partnerships. The healthcare example of the Blue Ridge Partnership, I think, is a really good one for some other industries as they're taking a look at how to grow a table of educators, employers, workforce partners, and industry altogether. And so I thought you may be interested in taking a look at that as well. And I think with that, my presentation is done. Madam Chair, members of the Commission, I hope this was helpful. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from any of our members? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my question goes to slide 14. Just from a wordsmithing, when you say participation, does that mean the full completion, or are you just saying someone who's
Currently active.
Oh, currently active?
Yes.
So do we have the number of people who probably fell out of the program, per se? So they started but didn't finish, and do we know that the reason why they didn't finish?
Delegate, that is a great question. So we do have completer numbers and we have active numbers. As you can imagine, people are completing constantly, so these numbers fluctuate a little bit. Okay. I don't know that we keep a record per se of those who have failed out. I'm not sure I've actually even heard that terminology really be used, but we've had people stop. Largely they stop sometimes because they get a job that they want to pivot in a different direction. They don't, want to be an apprentice in that industry. They get hired by another employer. Sometimes that happens. We don't have a robust exit survey in place for individuals. We are putting one in place actually for employers. And so it's great feedback that we should put something like that in place and get some more firsthand qualitative perspective on those who don't complete. But for the most part, that is not as much of an issue that we see in terms of those who are active. So,
thank you.
I hope that helps.
Any other questions? Yes.
I appreciate what you're doing as far as.
Hit your mic. No worries.
There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Everything you're doing, working with the existing employers, determining what's needed. But obviously, we're interested in bringing investments into the state as well. Is there any type of plan now or in works with the EDP to collaborate between the two organizations to identify what's needed, maybe what we need to do to scale a particular type of trade? And obviously, that's key, if not the most, certainly one of the top most important factors that companies look at when they come to invest here. So I'm just curious what the plans are there.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. That's a great question. We do collaborate with VDP every day. In fact, we're in the process now of aligning our workforce strategic plan with the economic development plan for the Commonwealth, and ensuring that there's very strong alignment there, both in terms of overall strategy and individual programs that both of us have. I don't think that there's been a specific focus on registered apprenticeship as one of those avenues, so I'll take that back as an item for us to discuss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment about some of the numbers you've given. For example, the number of increase in apprenticeships, what is the ratio versus the number of, or the increase in manufacturing? So, for example, if the increase in manufacturing is 10,000 and we got 3,000 more apprentices, so that way the number is based on what's going on today and not just the increase. The other thing is for example, increase in wages and salaries. Again, compare that to the cost of living increases. Yes. So what is the real buying power increase that the industry is showing? Those are kind of, I'm always looking at, when you talk about increase in wages, what's the real buying power? How is that versus the cost of living? Just those kind of things I think about on a overall macro kind of look. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that feedback. We'll take that back and make some updates.
Good questions. Any other questions? Thank you so much. It's been very informative and very helpful. We look for those follow-up documents. And thank you. Thank you again.
Of course.
And on such short notice, too. Thank you.
No, not a problem. Happy to. Thank you.
All right. The only thing that is left is any comment. Do we have any comments, questions about anything Manufacturing Commission related? All right. So I would like to end with, again, saying thank you so much and reminding everyone of our upcoming retreat. You will be getting that notification in the next day or so. It is September 16th. It was initially called our field trip. It's been renamed to a retreat, and we're going to be in Norfolk. And we have a really nice event planned with the partnership with our Economic Development Office in the city of Norfolk to show some of the small and medium-sized manufacturers. Hampton Roads is generically known for its maritime association and those industries, but we are so much more than that. And so the goal is to just share a little bit of that with the commission so that you can see all of the things that we have going on in the Hampton Roads area. So I hope that you all will be able to make that. Our start time, I believe, is 10 o'clock, and you will be getting the location, start dates, as well as all of the stops, and we're going to feed you. So if anybody knows me, we do well on food all the time. We've got to have good food at every event. But thank you for your time, and if there is nothing else from anyone else, if all minds are clear, this meeting is adjourned.
This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305. Did you know that you can watch the Senate live on YouTube? Visit the channel by browsing to youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. That's youtube.com/@Senate of Virginia. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, A305.